Kentucky needed a win on the road against Oklahoma, and of course, against his former team, Otega Oweh delivered.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on tonight's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's thrilling 83-82 win over the Oklahoma Sooners, a buzzer beating, in essence. Shot for Otega Oweh goes at the end of the game, and the Cats get out of Norman with a much needed win. Finally, Kentucky goes on the road and beats an unranked team, this time in dramatic fashion. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Would have really appreciate it. If you're watching the live stream here on YouTube, subscribe to the show. And if you're listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subscribed there as well. What a game for the Cats here. We'll break it all down. But first, I want to tell you today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. They can go to FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let's go ahead and get into it again. 83-82 is the final score here. There's no other way to start this recap, and of course, we'll talk to you guys in the live chat as well, but there's no other way to start this recap than discussing how Otega Oweh performed. The first half, not so great. A couple of turnovers, was not shooting very efficiently. You go and look at the stats, 2 of 7 from the floor, 2 turnovers. In the second half, though, a completely different story. 23 points for the former Oklahoma Sooner, 10 of 14 from the floor, 1 of 3 from beyond the arc, and he, of course, hit that game-winning shot. Chaos there towards the end of the game. 18 straight, as a chatter notes. I believe 21 out of the last 23 for UK. Madness in Norman here tonight as the Wildcats escape, improved to 19-9, 9-7 in SEC play. Gentlemen, you needed this one pretty bad, and you got it. Now you're looking at getting a win against LSU, which would put you at 10-8 in the SEC at minimum. So you're going to be over 500 in Mark Pope's first year in this conference. And of course, you are seeking now to earn your 20th win here somewhere in your last 3 contests. What a game for Oweh. And it was just, in essence, at various points in the second half, give him a screen and get out of his way. Give him an opportunity to drive downhill and finish at the rim, and of course, he did so. A total of 28 points in this game, 12 of 21 shooting. He had 6 rebounds, 4 turnovers collectively, and a couple of bad decisions, but that second half, man, where he was just the offense and nothing else. Kentucky didn't have another answer with Lamont Butler going out after fouling out Jaxson Robinson, 12 minutes, 7 points. He had to step out of this game because his wrist injury was re-aggravated, and Oweh was the only source of offense that Kentucky could consistently look to, and he answered the call. What a game. I'm sitting here saying, and I said this on Twitter a little bit ago, I'm sitting here saying that this might be one of the greatest second-half performances I have seen in Kentucky history. It's one of the best individual Kentucky performances I've seen in a long time. How about it? 28 points, a career high against your former team, and you get it to go at the buzzer. And not only just get it to go at the buzzer, but you get the block on Jeremiah Fears to seal it there. No foul at the end of the game. Brandon Garrison with some chatter there with, I believe, Jalon Moore at the end of it. Thankfully, no call, no whistle. The game was over, and Otega seals it. And it's actually really cool. Austin Vanderpool in the chat here saying Otega dropped 28 points to win the game on his 28th birthday. First of all, happy birthday, Austin. And second of all, that is so sick. What a performance, man. There's nothing else to say. Incredible work from the Cats. Now I believe 9-8 in quad 1 wins. And somebody in the chat just said, I believe it's Red House, I'm shocked Showles and company did not call a foul on Garrison or Otega Oweh at the end. Thank goodness they did not. Doug Showles actually did something right for once. I think. Again, appreciate you guys in the live chat. If you've not subbed or liked the video, would love for you to do so. There's like, 200 people in here already. Daggum. If you've got any thoughts about this game, leave them in the live chat. We'll continue to kind of get to these various comments here. I want to go ahead and get to our sponsor for today's episode, FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off, or you want to bet on a late game comeback, or if you want to bet on Otega Oweh, you can stay in the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I've really liked using FanDuel's live betting feature. If you used it here and you took the over on Oweh's second half points, you probably had a pretty good time. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, continuing along here on the Wednesday night edition of Locked On Kentucky, wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way so I could tell you guys more about this contest. Again, 83-82. We'll get to the stats here in a second, but I want to take a look at the live chat here real quick just to see what you guys had to say. Again, if you've not subbed, would love for you to do so. I believe we're at like 15,200 subs. Just incredible that all you guys are here talking about this one. Jeffrey Evans saying, again, terrible officiating tonight. Super inconsistent with sticking with SEC officiating all year. I did not think the officiating in this game was horrendous. It wasn't as bad as the Alabama game, but again, you talk about inconsistencies. Outside of that illegal screen, that call that went both ways at the beginning of the game, you know, you see ticky-tack stuff, you see really physical stuff, you see Lamont Butler fouling out there on what was contact completely initiated by Jeremiah Fears, where he runs into him and shoves him into the ground. You see Pope, you cut to, if you're watching the broadcast, you see it cut over to him, and he mouthed a word that I don't know if I've ever seen him utter, at least coaching a game. You could just tell just how upset he was with the game, or with the officiating. But yeah, Biker Believer says it. Some of you in the chat are saying it. It was pretty inconsistent. Backstreet Once a Time Angel said, can you explain what's KenPom again? I'm assuming you're making a smart comment about me explaining what KenPom is to Kentucky fans. But if you're asking what our KenPom ratings are after this game, I will tell you, we've dropped one spot to 6th nationally in adjusted offensive efficiency. We are at 61st now in adjusted defensive efficiency, up to 15th nationally overall. Projected to finish 21-10, 10-8 here to end the season. I don't know how that's possible. That's actually not possible. Well, KenPom it's just averages here, I think, at the end. So wait, yeah. You got your 19th, 20. No, you'd be 20-11. What is KenPom saying? Anyway, Jeffrey Evans says, that being said, we turn the ball over incredibly too much and play zero defense. What's new? I think at various points, Kentucky played really good defense in this game when Lamont Butler was on the floor. And there was some various comments on Twitter about Lamont's health and about keeping him in the game and about whether or not he should go out. I thought that the decision midway through the second half to take Butler out when there was, which at that point, you know, I don't know how many fouls Butler had. He might have had 3, but taking him out to put Travis Perry in, it was a really bad time to do it. And immediately Oklahoma went on like a 7-2 or 7-0 run, got up by 5. Perry turned the ball over, I think, at least once. It might have been twice. And there were 2 buckets that were scored directly on him. If you have your best defender on the floor guarding the player with the ball, you are going to see some more defensive success. Because if you can stop the ball, you can stop players from getting out of rotation. You can stop them from chaotically switching into mismatches and stuff like that. I think Kentucky's got better defense in them. They just have to be able to show it with health and without getting into foul trouble, which at various points, you know, has been a little bit of an issue. But Butler tonight, 20 minutes, he actually finished best on the team in plus-minus tonight, which just shows you how valuable he is defensively. He also had 6 assists tonight with his 7 points and 3 rebounds, which is pretty solid there for the senior guard. Everything flows better when Lamont Butler is on the floor controlling this game. It's such a shame that Kirk Carissa is not here because, man, if Carissa was subbing in, at least you would feel a little bit more confident about the flow of the offense. And I mean, at various points, Travis Perry tonight was decent. 5 points, 1 of 2 from beyond the arc in this game. No other statistics recorded outside of his 5 points, which is kind of crazy. And then you wonder about something that one of the chatters just said. Donnie, I think it's Seiler, says here. Donnie says Almanor played 1 minute. It says here on the box score he played 4, which still, either way, he almost didn't play at all. And Biker Believer says just now, why did Almanor not play much? Considering he only had 1 foul, 1 assist, and that was it, and he was just -1 in his 4 minutes. It wasn't like he did anything particularly bad here, and I can't really give you a great answer for it. The only thing that I can think of is that Pope really liked a different matchup or liked multiple players on the floor with each other at the same time collectively, and so he wanted to go with that over Almanor. And, sometimes you just have games like that where you are not as big of a factor as some other players, point being Otega's 28 points tonight. But we'll see if that continues here this weekend against Auburn. I doubt it does unless injuries again play a factor. Luke Newman says, Lance, how do you think Noah, Chandler, and Perry will be for the Cats in their sophomore year with Lewis, Johnson, and Marino? It'll be interesting because you talk about offensive gravity, and I think that both Akaden and Jasper have a lot of that. I think they're going to draw a lot of attention because their ability to not just shoot from beyond the arc, but their ability to drive to the rim. I think that physicality is something that you're going to question about Kentucky's guards, which I think could be solved over time, possibly. But, man, you look at the players surrounding them. You get guys like Chandler, who I think is a good defender. Trent Noah, who's a big-bodied player that I think will only get better over time. Perry, the jury is still out on him, in my opinion. But I think that Noah and Chandler specifically, if they stay, they will benefit offensively from what some of the other guards are going to be able to do with everybody being healthy, knock on wood. I think it'll be a good thing for the Cats next season. Biker Believer says Pope went to Garrison and Williams in down the stretch, which paid off. I had to write down here on a sticky note about the lineup because I wanted to make a note about it. So it was Otega, Chandler, Brea, and then Garrison and Williams in at the 4 and the 5, which is super weird. And you may say, why the 2 big lineup? I think they wanted better rim protection. And then also you can kind of get away with it because Garrison had already hit 2 threes in this game. He was 2 of 3. He had 12 points, 4 rebounds, by the way. 3 blocks, 3 steals. This is why I've not given up on Brandon Garrison. Forget the rumors. Forget what you read on Twitter about Garrison and how good he plays or how bad he plays. You notice that I don't know, and I may be checking myself here on this, but I don't think I've ever dogged Garrison individually for a performance on Twitter because I'm just like, I want to reserve any sort of comments because he's kind of inconsistent. If he played more consistently, then you would see, I think, a much better player, but I think that his ceiling is so high that the jury is kind of still out on him so far. Ronald Giblett says, Lance, your hot takes were right so far, and that's a good point so far. So if you watched the Monday episode of Locked On Kentucky, I gave 2 hot takes. One of them was in the Mark It Down segment that we do. We'll play that little sticker here on the live stream because I think it's fun. But during the Mark It Down segment, I said that Otega Oweh this week was going to score 20-plus against both Oklahoma and Auburn. He's done so here against the Sooners. We'll see what he does against the Tigers on Saturday. But the other prediction that I said Kentucky's going to win out. Kentucky's going to win out. They're going to go 4-0 to end the regular season. And here we are, 1-0 with Otega scoring 28 here. Biker Believer says, how does Oklahoma only have 4 SEC wins? They look way better than a 4-win team. Couple of different things. Kentucky did not play their A game tonight. I would say they played their C- game tonight overall. I think they could have done a little bit better of a job guarding the ball. I think they could have done a better job defending without fouling. I think they could have done a better job contesting shots at the rim, which they did not do consistently here. Overall, I think that Oklahoma, they had some really good non-conference wins, but they've kind of gotten beaten up in SEC play. They're not a terribly physical team. They're not a terribly tall team. They don't have a ton of strength down low, which is something you're really going to need if you want to survive in this conference. So I think that it's just a conglomeration of they had some bad beats. They got unlucky a couple different points, but they really wanted this win tonight, and Kentucky didn't play that well, barring Oklahoma or Oweh's incredible second half. Jeffrey Evans says Oklahoma's defensive efficiency is like number 18, right? It is actually 68th, believe it or not, and they are 13th in the SEC in that category. Julie Sheving with a really interesting comment. The No Low Huddle podcast said, also, did you see that Oklahoma fan that threw a beer bottle at Garrison after the game? I saw a couple of you make a comment about it. I didn't. I meant to get to one of them earlier. I saw that on Twitter right before I went live. That Oweh mentioned that he had a beer bottle thrown at him. You can't do stuff like that. It's just have a. I'm not trying to dog the entire Oklahoma fan base because I don't know if I've ever had an interaction with an Oklahoma fan. It's just got to have a little bit more class than that. I'd say the same thing if our fan base did it. I'd say the same thing if Tennessee's fan base did it, which they seem to do a lot. Let's see here. Average Joe says Kentucky has a bad habit of playing to their opponent's level. It's a dangerous game. They certainly do have that issue on the road, it seems like. They kind of stoop down to Georgia's level. They stoop to Ohio State's level. Vandy, Arkansas, Ole Miss is 10 spots lower than them in KenPom, Texas, and then Oklahoma. And you managed to get a win here. But goodness gracious, as Kentucky had a lot of losses here away from Rupp Arena where you just kind of scratch your head and go, what exactly are we doing here? Like, we're better than this, both on paper and on the court. I can tell we're just not making the right decisions or the shots just aren't falling consistently. We'll see if Kentucky's able to do it here in their final 2 or 3 games here against Auburn, LSU, and then on the road at Missouri. I don't believe we're going to beat Missouri, but I want us to beat Auburn and LSU. Or at least let me rephrase. I think the Missouri game is the most difficult to win because it's on the road because of that. I think they absolutely have a shot to win all 3. It's just Missouri is the most difficult one to talk yourself into. Let's see here. The No Low Huddle podcast again says about that point that we've never played down to a team that is much lower than that, so I'm not as worried about getting upset in the first round, and that's a very fine line of logic to have. I hold the same opinion. And then they match up against a team like High Point, and the shots don't fall from beyond the arc, and then everything kind of goes to crap. I completely agree with you, by the way. On paper, that is how you should view it. That's how I view it. But because of the NCAA tournament being so unpredictable and crap just happening that you can't really understand, losses come out of the woodwork. And so it's about getting up, being healthy, and making sure that you're ready for whatever team you match up against. And honestly, Kentucky, like you mentioned, they're probably going to have a pretty easy time with their first-round opponent, probably. But it comes back to nerves. It comes back to making shots. It comes back to just how chaotic everything is in the NCAA tournament. Donnie Seiler says, I still think UK is a 3 seed. They are right now, with that quad 1 win over Oklahoma, but you got to beat LSU on Tuesday, March 4th to kind of solidify a better chance at getting a 3 seed. If you beat Auburn, then you're kind of already there, right? A reminder, by the way, thank you guys so much for watching. There was like 400 of you in here. Like the video if you like what you see. Again, just love hanging out with you guys, kind of talking about this 83-82 win for the Wildcats. Just an insane victory here for the Cats. Let's see. Tony Willoughby says, Lance, who would you put on Broom to guard him? I think it's got to be Williams. There's no other player on this roster that I think can consistently handle him physically. You maybe wonder about Garrison, but with the way that Broom works in the post, it is just super difficult to overcome kind of what he's able to do once he gets the ball in the low block, and you need some weight. And I think Amari has that, but you have to you've got to have a perfect game from Amari on Saturday if you want to get that win. It's a lot to do with defense without fouling while also playing aggressive. I think you have to make Broom either give the ball up or take a shot. You can't let him back you down. You have to speed him up a little bit. I think you have to speed the entire Auburn team up, which we'll go into our preview episode later on this week. I've got some interesting thoughts about pace and style and how, while you may not physically match up well with Auburn in certain spots, there are some mental aspects of this game that I think will prove to be more important, at least for the Wildcats in this one. So I think, to answer your question, I think Williams is the clear-cut answer, and that's the matchup that I'm going to be watching the closest. I think that's a great question. Blake says, fun fact, Kentucky hasn't won twice in the same week in conference play. I would love to see them do that here. That would be pretty sweet if they were able to get a win against Auburn here at home. Triple F says, we need Butler and Robinson for the tournament. Do you think they should rest them until the SEC tournament? I think it depends on what happens over the next 2 days, 2.5 days, right? Practice, getting everybody together. I think that you have to, first of all, figure out where is Jax with his wrist. If he is, good to go, but a hit would take him out, I think you have to rest him against Auburn. Frankly, I think you would rest him against LSU. I think you would rest him for the next 2 games, yes. Butler, on the other hand, is so valuable to what you do defensively that if you have an opportunity to beat Auburn and Butler is good enough to go, I think you have to throw him out there and just tell him guard Denver, guard Pettiford, guard whoever. That actually might not prove to be as big of a matchup thing for the Cats here this Saturday, which, again, we'll get to it in our preview episode, but we'll see. I think that, yes, resting Jax is probably something that has to be on the mind of these coaches, and I think that with the way Butler plays, he's too valuable to not play him if he's semi-healthy. The offense is night and day with him. I think you saw the statistic. Kentucky heading into this game was, I think, 14-4 with him, and they were 4-4 without him, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that. They might have been 14-5, I think, and then 4-4 without him. Let's see here. Pages Fear says these guys got to make more free throws. Holy cow. Yeah, that's something we haven't even got, by the way. We're, 22 minutes into this live stream? We haven't even gotten to the stats outside of, Oweh and Garrison and some of Jax's stuff, right? Kentucky, you got to make more free throws, man. You shot 10 of 15 in the second half. You could have iced this game. If Pope did not sub out Butler for Perry over that stretch where they went on a 5-0 run or something before he had to call a timeout, Kentucky would have won this game by 5. If they make their free throws in this game, make more, they win this game by what we predicted in the preview episode. We talked about this, right? 7 to 10 points. It's all about executing down the stretch. Can they do it in March? I guess that's the question. Both of their injuries are very touch and go. A shoulder injury is tough to overcome. When Butler got fouled tonight, my stomach dropped. Yeah, I got really scared too. But again, I think it's about if you have a chance to win, this one is for me way more important than Auburn, Oklahoma, and Missouri, because it's a quad one game you can win if you have players out there. You just had to hold on, and I still can't believe Kentucky found a way. But yeah, I think resting is really, really, really important. Jared Love says, do you think teams will intentionally target Jackson's wrist knowing it's banged up? Yeah, I think they're going to hand check him regardless of whether or not he has the ball in his hand or not. Sucks. Ronald says, Oweh carried them like a baby. I was shocked, to be honest. I thought he was going to force it, but proved me wrong. Ronald is shook. Ronald referring to himself in the third person goes crazy. Let's see. Luke says, Lance, do you think we can beat Duke in the NCAA tournament? Healthy. If we're as healthy as we were when we first played them, yes. If we're not, no. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to sit here and try and pull this out. No, I don't think they can beat Duke. With the way that they're playing ball right now, no. Not unless Kentucky is fully healthy, and that means Carissa back. Let's see here. Oh, wait, Oklahoma hit some tough shots that were challenged pretty good, too. Yeah, man, dude, they hit how many threes in the second half? They went 7 of 13. They kind of cooled off. They were 6 of 8 at one point. We won't be 100% in the NCAA tournament. Exactly. That tells you what I think about Duke. Don't curse it, biker. Hey, I'll knock on wood for that. -2 there for any Northern Lion viewers out there. But yeah, at 7 of 13 in the second half, 53.8%. On the game, I will throw this out there. Kentucky shot 50%. They shot 30% from 3. They shot more free throws. They turned the ball over less. They had more points off turnovers. They got rebounded by 3, which wasn't great. They had more second chance points, though, which is good. They had more bench points. They had more points in the paint. They had 3 less fast break points. They had 4 blocks to none. They had more steals, more assists. They statistically whipped Oklahoma in so many different areas. It's just about those few threes, those tough shots they made in the second half, man. Brought them back. You play this game again in the SEC tournament, you have Jax healthy, Kentucky wins by, again, 7 to 10 points instead of just 1. Would you rather have Kerr for a tournament run or have him for all of next year? Kerr for a tournament run. I don't think he makes a ton of sense on next year's team. On paper, who knows? Maybe we get into next season and Jasper can't shoot, and then we're just like, oh, okay. Well, it'd be really nice to have Jasper play point and then Carissa play off ball, or you swap them and you have somebody that can at least shoot while both of them can pass pretty well, right? How many threes were tried for Oklahoma? They shot 10 of 25, so a clean 40%. Kentucky shot 23, which goes back, and 2 of 10 in the second half, by the way, which goes back to Pope's thing about volume. The offense is going to be working its best whenever they're getting up 30 or more. They can't do that. Not in their current state. The scouting report is out, and it says, do not let Kentucky take outside shots. They will hit them, and they will hurt you. Tennessee did not get the memo on that. At least they didn't in the first 2 contests. We'll see if they match up again. I'm trying so hard not to get clipped here right now. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see here. Biker says, we'll be good, maybe 90 to 95%. Shoulder injuries take a long time to heal. They do. I agree, which makes you go back to the question of, do you sit both of them? I don't know. Can we beat the Razorbacks in the SEC tournament? Yeah, if they don't shoot lights out like they did the first time. I think so. Perry needs to work on his defense this offseason. That's the only thing he needs to work on. That and getting stronger. Chances we beat Auburn and lose to LSU. Man, wouldn't that just screw with the Kentucky fan psyche? I was driving yesterday somewhere, I don't remember, and I thought about that. I thought about, just thinking about the Final Four games. I'm like, well, what if we beat Oklahoma and then we beat Auburn and we're riding like a crazy high and then we lose like a quad 3 game to LSU? Like, what? That would be such a weird dynamic where it's like the tournament committee has to look and say, okay, so they beat the number 1 team in the nation that only has 2 losses, but they lost to LSU, who is terrible. That put them in a really weird spot. I think it would just put them in a really weird spot. What was Chandler's plus minus tonight? Hold on real quick. It was -5 in 7 minutes. Chandler was -5 in 7 minutes. If you want everybody, Otega was +6, Butler was +10, Jaxson was -6, Carr was +4, Amari was -2, Brea was -5, Chandler was -5, Trent was +2, Garrison, Perry, and Almanor were -1 apiece. Let's see. I think the Razorbacks get us again. Hey, it's hard to beat a team twice. Great Kentuckian says, Lance, when should we start investigating refs? It's getting a lot more noticeable around the NCAA, and it's not funny. Everybody's talking about it. Did you see what happened in the Arizona-BYU game? Did you see Indiana's kids kicking kids in the crotch? They reviewed it, and there was no foul. Them boys are blind, ladies and gentlemen. Them boys are absolutely blind. Let's see here. Did I have that up? Oh, no. Did I delete it? That would suck. Oh, I had a meme that I had saved on here. Anyway. We match up good with Auburn. I think at various spots we do. I think at various spots we do. I was just applying. Whoa, and -2. My bad. Luke Newman says, to be fair, Lance, the ACC is weak for Duke. If Duke is a good team to play against, they could be in trouble. That is also fair. Who do you think will be the star player against Auburn? It's got to be Williams. I think. You're going to have to ask Perry and Trent to step up again, I think. But I think Williams is going to be the guy that makes or breaks that matchup. If you have the commentators admitting it on live TV, you know how bad the officials are. They have been nothing short of pathetic this year. There's no other way to put it. So, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, if you've not subscribed, please do. Like the video if you have not already. We will continue this week talking about Kentucky in the tournament, talking about the health of their 2 stars here in Butler and Jax, and talking about Auburn, which is the biggest game so far of the season, best opponent you have faced outside of Duke. We'll see how it goes. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at Lance._. You can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. That is the wrong hotkey again. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Good night, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening, and God bless.